Saco bota tem lugar seguro. Se acaba medo que tu vai, bota inseguro. Tem profundidade, tipo alma tem luz. Aceptava força, iluminava a realidade, descobrindo a verdade. Mas que tempo parça de te move super slow. Não entrega tanto tempo, chega a superfície. Botava super hero. Al rescate, tipo alma, bota superando. Mas que tempo parça de te move super slow. Não entrega tanto tempo, chega a superfície. Botava super hero. Al rescate, tipo alma, bota superando.
Bom-vindo um dia mais no nosso programa Superando. Agora nós também temos programa sumamente carregado com informação que nós também entrevistar Dr Suzy Kim, qual também é speaker de nossa conferência Understanding Spinal Cord Injury and the Life After. Dr Suzy Kim também tem dois tópicos quais prometem medical complications after spinal cord injury e também the paradigm shift from compensation to neuroplasticity. Nós temos que agradecer a nosso sponsor na Scandal, que por ajuda nós com o bestiário Jaui e também Santa Barbara Beach and Golf Resort, de qual nós está assim e gravação aqui. Nós te agradecer também Show Up e Express Productions, qual está assim o programa aqui possível. Agora nós também temos programa sumamente carregado de maneira bisawari, que nós também papo com o Dr Suzy Kim over de sua experiência com Dwars Lacey e sua posição aqui como doctor especialista riba rehabilitation e também spinal cord injury. Nós também para break e diz nós back com o Dr Suzy Kim.
Mas que tempo passa de te move super slow. Não entrega tanto tempo, chega a superfície. Botava super hero. Al rescate, tipo alma, bota superando. Mas que tempo passa de te move super slow. Não entrega tanto tempo, chega a superfície. Botava super hero. Al rescate, tipo alma, bota superando.
Vamos back do nosso programa Superando. Agora que nós também over na inglês para nós por entrevistar Dr Suzy Kim. Hi doctor, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. We're grateful that you're in our program Superando and that we're gonna talk about your experience, how did you get your accident, and so on.
Sure.
So my first question is for you. Who was Suzy Kim before you had a spinal cord injury?
Sure. So I was fortunate. Both my parents are Korean. I was born in South Korea, and I came to the United States when I was about 3 years old. And I grew up in Southern California as a tomboy. So I grew up in the ocean, surfing, playing all sports. And just before my injury, I was playing competitive sports and was running marathons and triathlons. So very, very athletic. Okay. And right before, I was in my third year of medical school at USC. At the time I had my injury, and I was body surfing at our local beach and hit a shallow sandbar, and I broke my C7 vertebrae.
Yeah. How old was you when you got your accident?
I was 25.
Okay, and how many years ago was that?
That was 17 years ago today.
Okay, today is actually...
Oh, no, not today. I'm sorry, in November.
Okay.
I was injured in November of 1997.
Now, Dr. Suzy Kim, I wanted to, if you could tell the people at home, how did you got your spinal cord injury?
Sure. So I have to blame our beautiful sunny weather because, like Curacao, Southern California has very beautiful weather year-round. So it was November, and I was in my third year of medical school. It was a weekend, and every weekend I go to the beach. So I was body surfing at Laguna Beach, and hit a shallow sandbar and broke my C7 vertebrae.
Okay, and how was your first impression? How did you experience that? Couldn't you move anything, or what can you tell them?
Sure. So for me, I was a very experienced swimmer, obviously, and was a lifeguard as well. And I had retained a lot of my sensation in my legs. So at the time when I hit the sandbar, I was underwater, but I realized I couldn't get out from underwater. And I thought maybe my foot was stuck or something like that, until the wave washed up, that I realized that I couldn't move my legs. So fortunately for me, a surfer was nearby, and I was with a friend, and he used the surfboard just to kind of hold my neck, because even though I was a third-year student in medical school, I didn't, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. So I didn't realize I had a spinal cord injury or I was paralyzed until I got to the hospital.
Okay, and how did your family support you during those tragic moments?
Sure. So I feel very fortunate. I mean, it was a little unfortunate timing, because at the time when I was injured, my mother had been diagnosed with stomach cancer.
Okay.
So she was really towards the end. So she passed away a month after my injury.
Okay.
So, I mean, I come from a very, very close-knit family. So I have a brother, sister, my dad. And since I grew up in Southern California, I have many friends that I went to preschool and childhood with. So I feel very fortunate. I had all the support that anybody could see. And I see that now, being a physician and seeing my other patients who have brain injury, other injuries, and no family and friends. And so it makes a big difference.
Do you believe that because of your accident you affected more than just your family?
Of course, absolutely. I think with spinal cord injury, it is a type of injury that can affect anybody if it's from an injury, and it not only affects the person, but it absolutely affects everybody around you. And I think for me, going back to medical school in a wheelchair, I think that was very eye-opening for even a lot of other doctors and nurses, and had an impact in that sense as well.
Yeah, that made me wondering, why did you start a medical school?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor ever since I was little. I think it's because I was such an active person. I had so many injuries myself, so I really spent some time at the doctor's office and hospitals. I mean, I wasn't sick, but I had sports-related injuries. So I was always fascinated by how the human body reacts to injury, how it can heal in many ways. So there was no doubt that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I just didn't know what type of doctor I wanted to be.
Yeah. And what was the other doctor's reaction when they see someone with a spinal cord injury going to school with them?
Well, I think, again, my classmates were very supportive and helpful, and really, they really appreciated what I was going through.
Yes.
And that, so if the example I give, since I went to USC, we trained at LA County Hospital, which is one of the largest hospitals there. And so when we would make rounds, our whole team all together would if we have to go see patients on different floors.
Okay.
So I would always have to wait for the elevator because I'm going to go down the stairs. And so I think little things they really appreciated, that I was doing everything they were doing. It was just in a different way.
Good. Nós estamos conversando com o Dr. Suzy Kim. Nós estamos em break e diz nós estamos back.
E nós só tínhamos que parquear 3 km fora de entrada.
Wak, e nanti Ay no, lagi. Esse da gente disabilidade.
Wak, nós também dura 2 minutos só.
2 minutos. Quase seguro. Você pretende ter disabilidade mais via?
Nós pretende. Tá sério, Mari. Vai riwak ang guide de rolstoel ba foi su auto? Ni tampoco. Esse ting mes, nalo mes trata corre trek bom grande. Passou não parque plaza mais grande.
Bossano e parquear plaza andou solamente para ele de rollstool. Mi tio Roland depois de sua operação também tá em uma situação para parilune assim.
Tio Roland. Anyway, wag hindi nada contra DNA na. Solamente se não por bem se compras manenos, não parquear mes coisas que sobrar de nós também, se a banda entrada off na final de parquear plaza.
Deus nos também.
Nós temos bom motivo. Wag, eu não tenho que justificar me mesmo. Porque man, me tá bom com nada. E nada bom ainda com tudo coisa. Pero não tá me falta nada de habilidade. Não parquear plaza VIP. Tá privilégio, não serviço essencial. Bawa, não estava assim lá.
Tentava dar mais que 2 minutos, sim.
Não sou assim eu ainda danho, toh?
Dos minutos porta dias, pero e porta em consequência para eternidade. Respeitar e parquear plaats nang para persona não desabilita.
Nós estamos back no nosso programa Superando. Nós estamos falando com Dr Suzy Kim, que é especialista em reabilitação e também em dwarslesie. Dr Suzy Kim está conosco na conferência Understanding Spinal Cord Injury and Life After, qual ela está batendo dois tópicos que ela pode ribater com a complicação médica, com pessoa por aí na dwarslesie também, e cambio de pensamento com nos especialistas na mesa tem riba reabilitação e também terapia na uma pessoa que tem dwarslesie. Nós vamos seguir a conversação com o Dr Suzy Kim e poderei contar agora aqui com o seu trabalho. So, Dr. Suzy,
Yes.
what is your occupation now?
Sure. So currently, I am the director of spinal cord injury at a rehabilitation center in California called Rancho Los Amigos, and also at another hospital called St. Jude's Wellness and Rehabilitation Fitness Center.
Okay.
And I also work part-time at the VA, which is the Veterans Administration Hospital for the military,
Okay.
in spinal cord injury there, a few times a month.
Okay, so actually everything you do is surround spinal cord injury.
Everything, my patient care, yes, is all spinal cord injury.
And how does your patients react when they know that you have a spinal cord injury?
I am very fortunate. I feel that I have a very special relationship with my patient. Every doctor will say that about their patient, but I think for me, when I meet people for the first time or their families, we have sort of an unspoken understanding, so to speak. So I think I feel fortunate being a doctor because I think that they will, they appreciate that I have to do many things.
Yes.
I'm recommending that they do.
Yes.
So I think it's good, and I do practice what I preach. I tell patients to exercise, and I exercise, and I share my experience with them. So it's been very, very positive.
Yeah. And now, do you feel sometimes that things are not going as you planned, or are there moments that you feel that it's too heavy, too much to do to it? Do you also get those feelings?
Of course, I think anybody would. I mean, there's not a day I don't think about running and doing things that I can't do.
Yes.
I think about them and appreciate them, but I also don't dwell on it too much. You know. But of course, I have bad days just like everybody else.
And what at that moment, what do you do to keep the spirit high?
Usually laugh. I mean, I think you have to have a sense of humor if you have any kind of adversity in your life or challenge or anything like that. And so if I don't laugh, my friends will laugh with me or at me, and so will my family. So I feel that, I think when I have a bad moment, I like to just remember that bad moment, because I think that will also, that does make you stronger. It makes you think about what you need to overcome.
Okay.
And when it's not bad anymore, then it's that much better.
Okay, good. Now, you were in our conference,
Yes.
Understanding Spinal Cord Injury and the Life After.
Uh-huh.
What can you say, or would you tell us as feedback about the conference? Was it a good conference?
It was an excellent conference. I learned a lot. Like I said, every time I meet somebody with a spinal cord injury, or meet a therapist or another doctor or a psychologist, everybody that's around it, because because the injury is so encompassing and you meet so many people that are involved in it. It was really great to learn about how spinal cord injury is managed here, and the differences in healthcare systems and insurance in different countries. But I think the most valuable thing I learned, even though there are some differences, there are many similarities. And I think the similarities are very nice, because I think everybody wants to improve the quality of life of this individual who's had a spinal cord injury, and what are the components and things people need. So it was great. I learned a lot.
Okay. You had 2 topics.
Yes.
Medical complications. I remember that you told that actually someone that has a spinal cord injury can get diabetes.
Sure.
And how far does a complication go? Can someone with a spinal cord injury really die from one of those complications?
Yes, I mean, in many parts of the world, unfortunately, the complications are not correctable or treatable.
Okay.
Depending on, again, if you're near, what kind of hospital you're in, what kind of setting you're in. But there are a few things, for example, in the immediate time after you have an injury, depending on where your injury is.
Yes.
If you have a cervical injury, you can lose the ability to breathe. So if you don't have that attention right away, you could die, or you could get a very horrible complication like a blood clot that can travel from your legs from not moving to your lungs, and also be fatal. But there are many treatable complications of spinal cord injury, which is the most important thing to recognize.
Good. And what could you say is the best thing to avoid those complications?
I think the best way to avoid most of these complications is just to stay active. I think, as human beings, our body parts weren't made to sit. We were made to move. Yeah. And, if you can't move, we want to teach the family, the therapist, or everybody that's involved in your care, how can we keep you active?
Yeah.
Because I think now with medical care improving, before, when you had a spinal cord injury, you would die of kidney failure.
Okay.
But now, with all these medical consequences that can be treatable, people with spinal cord injuries in certain parts of the world are living, their life expectancy is just the same. So, when anybody gets older, they can have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, all those things. All of those things can also happen to somebody with a spinal cord injury, but a little bit more because you're sedentary. Yeah. Right?
Okay, good. Now, the other topic,
yes.
Paradigm shifts from compensation to neuroplasticity.
Yes.
What can you tell us to just simplify the topic?
Sure. So, I can relate it to you from when I was injured in 1997, and my experience as a patient and what was available to me for rehabilitation is so different from what's available now for many people.
Yes.
And I think the topic is really to recognize that because there are so many technologic advances happening, one of the topics I highlighted about was robotics. So if we can have something for maybe a tetraplegic that's not able to move their hand, if we can substitute that function with something technological as a medical device, those are things that these are conversations that I couldn't even have with my patients 5 years ago. You know, I mean, even when the iPad came out, I had many of my tetraplegics who now could access the internet. I mean, just commercially available things. So I think that the topic is really to, as a medical community, as a rehabilitation community, how are we going to incorporate these new technological advances? You know, something as simple as an iPad, or something as simple as a Bluetooth, where you can voice activate.
Okay, good. Now,
So it's exciting.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. One last question.
Sure.
What inspires you?
What inspires me? Gosh, I think life inspires me. I think, you know, my 5-year-old niece inspires me. You inspire me. I mean, there are many people who just enjoy life and appreciate everything that they have and move forward. You know, like I said in the conference, I've learned probably the most about how to, as a physician, most about spinal cord injury from my patients, you know, because, and their family, not from reading a textbook, not from, you know, looking at a lab result. I think this is a real injury where it's so different for everybody, and how you move forward. So that inspires me.
Great. Now we're going to an inspirational clip, and we'll be back with Dr. Suzy Kim. Nós estamos back no nosso programa Superando, conversando com Dr. Suzy Kim. Now, Doctor,
Yes.
Our program's name is Superando. That means in English, overcoming. Now, what does overcoming mean to you?
That's a very powerful word. I like it. I like it a lot. I think overcoming to me really, I mean, I think anything in life, you know, you break a nail, you spill coffee on yourself. I mean, there's a lot of things to overcome in life. But I think overcoming to me means you've had something that's happened to you, and you can basically, you know, mourn it, so to speak. You know, remember what it was, and use and move forward. I mean, I think as humans we evolve, right? I mean, we were once a monkey, and, you know, crawling on all fours, and now we walk. So I think we need to evolve with our life experiences. I think overcoming means is taking your life experience and moving forward.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
And we hope to see you once again in Curacao.
I would love to come back. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Bom, tornando nós está na parte final de nosso programa Superando. Há também programa interessante com Dr Suzy Kim contando nossa experiência, lo qual é passado com o Orelha do Lazy e também como hora que ela virou doctor especializado em reabilitação, especializado em Lazy. Sumamente interessante. Se você tem qualquer pergunta ou informação, por mail nos a superando@Fundashon Alton Paas como está mirando agora aqui na boa pantalla, por mail nos e pôr-nos qualquer informação ou se você tem qualquer pergunta, e lá nos a compartilhar com nós e também com abo a superar. Thank you.
Mas que tempo passa de te mover super slow. Não entregar tanto tempo, chega superfície. Botava super hero. Al rescate dibo alma bota superando. Mas que tempo passa de te mover super slow. Não entregar tanto tempo, chega superfície. Botava super hero. Al rescate dibo